Well, I think the American soccer public are a very demanding audience, and for commentators like myself, and I'm sure Ian Darke and Martin Tyler will feel this when they've worked for the American audience, it's actually a good thing because it makes you better. You're not mailing it in when you're broadcasting to the American soccer public because they are very sophisticated and demand very high standards. When it comes to broadcasters that perhaps have more experience in other sports, there is a natural, it seems, backlash against them because they perhaps, or the perception is they don't know enough about the sport to broadcast it at a very high level. But I think sometimes the argument becomes Americans shouldn't broadcast soccer to other Americans. And I think that's wrong. And I give the example of John Strong, as somebody, as American from the Pacific Northwest, who's been involved in soccer and soccer broadcasting for a good number of years now, who inherently knows the game very well. And I've had no hesitation in suggesting him to NBC Sports when I first joined the organisation to do MLS games, and I think he's done very well indeed. So that argument for me, and there'll be a kid somewhere at college, or a number of them at college now, perhaps, or in high school now, who are watching soccer, getting into soccer. They're playing the game, and they want to announce the game, and they'll be brought through in this internet and cable television age with as much knowledge as any English announcer has now. So I think the future will be more American announcers, particularly for Major League Soccer, and more very good American announcers. When the lay person thought about US soccer, I think they thought about Landon Donovan. So it was a huge moment for the game in America when he was left out of the squad. Now, the fact that he was left out of the squad and the reasons behind it, in a way, are a different argument, are they? And I think the coals have been raked over about Landon's omission, and we will see how Jurgen and the UN's men's national team fare in the United States, because you could argue that even if he wasn't started, he still would have had a key role to play potentially off the bench when the United States need a goal late on against what is very, very tough opposition. But that's an argument that will play out over the course of the tournament. But yeah, I think you used the correct phrase. It was a tipping point. It was a paradigm shift in the way that soccer is perceived in the United States, because the decision was scrutinized. And it was very sophisticated in the way that it was argued, and it certainly had reached beyond just that sort of core bubble of dedicated US soccer followers.
Okay.
I think ESPN and Fox came in aggressively. They clearly want it as part of their stable, and I wish them all the best, because I care very deeply about Major League Soccer. I've been involved in the league for 3 or 4 years and had a super time there. So I want to see it succeed. So I wish ESPN and Fox all the very best luck in raising the profile of the league, because I think it's very important that the league does get more eyeballs on the television. It's almost the last piece of the puzzle, really. There is buzz being generated by the league, by the players that have been attracted, by the franchises that have been granted, and the final piece is just to get more eyeballs on the television screens. MLS are doing their part with the investment, and let's see how it pans out. It was incredible, John. It was something that I really fancied doing. I've always enjoyed every trip back with NBC Sports after I left, and it's easy to forget sometimes that I was only in Seattle for 2 years, but it had such an indelible effect on my career, and gave me a real boost in the American market. And leaving was hard, and it was earlier than anyone expected, including myself. But it was, when NBC Sports came calling, I had to go. So that meant that every trip back I really made the most of, and I got a thrill out of coming back every time. And that was with NBC Sports. And obviously in those situations, I'm completely objective. The opportunity to come back and work for the Sounders Broadcasting, for the club themselves, on a one-off, was just brilliant. I got to do the march to the match for the first time, which was just a tremendous thrill. I read out the starting 11 at the start of the march there. I got to catch up with friends. I got to go onto the field before and be announced, and they played a little video of some of the highlights of the broadcasting during my time there. It was just incredible. I feel very deeply about the club. I always will do, and if they ever need me in any capacity, I'm always available for them. And not to mention the fans, and they gave me a lovely reception when I walked off the field after the presentation before the game as well. So all in all, a fabulous weekend. I love the country. I love broadcasting there. But right now, the dream job for me is broadcasting Premier League football on a weekly basis to the American market. I get a real kick out of that. It keeps me close. It keeps me, I suppose, close would be the best way to describe it, to a country and a culture that I love. And it also brings me back, to do things like MLS Playoffs, which I did last year. And there might be some pre-season action that I might come back for before the next Premier League season starts. So right now, I could not be happier in the job that I get. It is a business where rights change every 3 years, and you have to go with the flow, I suppose. So you'd never rule it out, but at the moment, very, very happy in what I'm doing.